UFC Fight Night Song versus Gutierrez. We're gonna break down this entire card right now and here. Just a short recap of UFC Austin. I have to say, I got humbled in UFC Austin. I had three major picks, which were Hort, Calvin, and that tall guy from Texas who went against Cody Brundage. All of them lost. They just didn't perform like they usually do. And you know what? This was a good lesson for me personally, because nothing is guaranteed here, and that's why you always have to look at all scenarios that might happen. Anyway, with that being said, let's go and break down this card. So the first fight of the night, we have Rayanne Santos against Tailta Alencar. This is gonna be a hard fight. This is like a striker versus a grappler. Let me tell you something. Tailta Alencar, she has the highest levels of BJJ that you can think of. She was a BJJ world champ. She got a draw on Contender. She has good takedowns. Her weakness is striking. Her striking is not that good. Obviously, she's coming from a grappling background. On the other hand, Rayanne Santos, she's a good striker. She has good striking capabilities. She doesn't have a lot of power in her hands, but she just knows how to use her striking to win rounds. And she also has a decent submission game. She also has a decent submission threat. And I believe that if it goes to the ground, she could be there with Tailta. She could get back on her feet and she could defend. So my best pick for this would be the over. I see Rayanne winning a decision here, and Tailta might get a sub, but it's not likely. Therefore, I'm gonna go with over 2.5 rounds for this fight, and that's it. Next fight, we have Tatsuro Taira against Carlos Hernandez. My pick for this fight will be Tatsuro Taira. Now, I'll tell you something. I'm not really impressed by Tatsuro, especially his striking in both of his, not both, but especially in this fight against Edgar Chairez. Edgar had him. He had him in a submission. If the round continued for, let's say, 10 more seconds, he would go to sleep. And Chairez is a good fighter, although he didn't have the best streak on the UFC because he had really good competition. I like Chairez. But Carlos Hernandez, guys, he's not the same level of Chairez. I don't see him. He doesn't have that KO power in his hands or the takedown defense to get someone like Tatsuro off his back, of him. And let me tell you something. If this gets to the ground, I see Tatsuro just keeping control, top control, maybe, smashing him with some elbows or getting the submission. So I'm gonna go moneyline Tatsuro Taira for this. The pick would be him. I'm not gonna lay any money because the odds for Tatsuro are ridiculous. I think he's around minus 400 right now. I'm not sure. So it's just not worth it if we're gonna go and see. Yeah, he's at 1.21 now specifically. So I don't see him as a good pick. Next card, we have Daniel Marcos against Carlos Vera. So Carlos Vera, he came short notice. And we got Peru against Ecuador. I think that Peru is going to take it just because of Daniel Marcos' striking is phenomenal. We have Carlos Vera, who has a taekwondo base, and he's a good striker, but I just think that Daniel Marcus is too technical for him. His striking is just like he's like an art. He had a good fight against Davy Grant. I'll be honest with you, I scored this fight for Davy Grant. I think Davy won that. When we look at Carlos Vera, it's gonna be his debut. So with that being said, I just think that the competition he faced so far is not the level he's gonna face now. Therefore, if this is staying on the feet, which I think it will, I have Daniel Marcus to win, probably by decision, just because this guy was never knocked out, so he's probably gonna be durable enough to go all 3 rounds. Give me Daniel Marcus by decision. That's my pick for this card. Next fight, we have Stephanie Egger against Luana Santos. This is a fight I like, especially I like the underdog here, which is Stephanie. And I like her because she only lost to really, really good competition. Stephanie is a really, really good fighter, especially her judo is next level. She was training judo since she was 5. She won in competitions, and she lost to Mayra Bueno Silva, which is one against home. She got that win taken from her because she was apparently using some vitamins, as they say these days. Other than that, Tracy Cortez, and she had this loss to Irina Alexieva, which was a knee. It was a knee bar. I'll tell you something. I think that loss to Irina didn't really showcase the jiu-jitsu that she has, Stephanie. She won against Eileen Perez, and we see that is aging well because Eileen Perez keeps winning. So I just think Luana Santos is a bit hyped. I don't see her winning. I don't see her even taking Stephanie to the ground. And let me tell you something. If this goes over around 1 round, I see her gassing out. Yeah, she won against Miller first round, but she was exhausted. Like, she was just throwing her punches, like zero power in her punches. And she just, that was a standing TKO. I don't see her winning against Egger. I think Egger is more technical. I think she's gonna manage to keep the fight on the feet, and I don't see Luana getting the submission. And even if it gets to the ground, I don't see her submitting Egger. Like, she's just 23 years old, and although Egger is 35, I think it's coming against her because Egger is much more experienced, and we've seen her, like, the fight with Denise Gomes, and she fought against, who was that? Yeah, Denise Gomes fight against another fighter. I forgot her name, but she's a very experienced older fighter, and she lost because, with age comes wisdom. I think that Egger's gonna win this, and you get her for underdog money. Next fight, we have Melquizael Costa against Steve Garcia. So this fight was supposed to happen last card. Probably because of the weight cut, Steve Garcia went to the hospital, and they just changed the bout to the next week. Both of them probably had to keep their weight low for this fight. And I picked Costa last time, and now the fact that Steve went to the hospital, that even increases my conviction in Costa winning. I think he's the more technical striker. Although Steve Garcia has power in his hands and he has a puncher chance, I just think that Costa is too technical, is too good on his offensive attacks against Steve Garcia. And I see him winning by decision or a knockout. Give me Costa to win. I think he got this one. Next fight, we have Jung Sung Park against Shannon Ross. So, Sung Park is making his debut, if I'm not mistaken, against Shannon Ross, who looked terrible in his 3 last fights. He got knocked out, especially in his last fight, which I had Aguilera. I bet on Aguilera, and Aguilera just won very convincingly, very fast with his, I think it was an overhand right. And now he's going against a guy who's unbeaten. I don't know, man. Like, Shannon Ross, it's very hard for me to put money on him. This guy, he has knockout power, so he has knockout wins in his career. He won in all his fights in the road to UFC. He has kickboxing background. I just don't see Shannon winning here. I don't know. It's just that he's unreliable. I hate putting money on people that are getting knocked out so viciously, so easily. So although you get really good value for Shannon, I just think that Sung Park is going to win, and probably by a knockout, because Shannon got good takedown defense. I can't put my money on him. Probably a pass for me, because the value you get for Sung winning is not worth it. So I think that Sung Park is gonna win, but I'm probably not gonna put any money on this fight. Next fight, and it's starting the main card. We have Kenan Song against Kevin Jousset. I like Jousset here. I think he can win this fight. He looked really good in his last bout. He won against, who was it? It was his debut, and he won against Crosby. First round rear naked choke. What I like about this guy, he has really good judo base, and although Kenan Song is not like, he's more of a striker, and he has power in his hands. Like, we saw him putting down Ian Gary, like almost knocking him out. I think that Jousset has it. He looked good against Bedoya, but I feel like Jouset's gonna win. I like him as a fighter. He's a younger fighter, and he's bigger. Like, he has the reach advantage. He has the height advantage. I like Jousset to win. This is probably gonna be a pass for me. I might look to take the over here, but I got Jousset here. I think he's gonna win. Next fight, we have Andre Muniz against Jong Hyun Park. I bet on Muniz in his fight against Paul Craig, and he started the fight looking great, but then he looked terrible, and he lost ground and pound against Paul Craig. He just gassed, and I can't put my money on fighters that gas. I hate putting money on those kind of fighters. On the other hand, Jong Hyun Park is a machine. Like, he can keep going. He can put the pace on someone like Muniz for 3 rounds, and I think that he can win, probably by a knockout. I don't see him. He can get the late submission, but man, in his fight against Duraev, he looked great, and although Duraev sparked him, he kept his composure. He looked good. He has a good chin, I like Jong Park. I think he can win this by decision, late TKO, late submission. All of those are live. I like Jong Park. Give me him to win. Next fight we got Nasrat against Jamie Mullarkey. This is gonna be an interesting fight. Nasrat is more of a striker. Like he has really good boxing. He has good pressure. But to be honest, his last fight, like we saw him fighting against, who was it? So his last fight was against London Quinones, and London Quinones looked great. He made his debut, and he looked great. Like I'd say it was very even, although he won by unanimous decision because of his pressure and experience. But Mullarkey, man, he's a good striker. He's overall very good. He's a well-rounded fighter, and he just got a win against Makadesi, which is a very good striker on his own. So it's very hard for me to pick a winner here. I just think this is going to go the decision just because we have a very durable Nasrat, and Jamie with his reach and height advantage, I think he can just keep attacking from the outside. Who you lost by a TKO to Drew Dober, but I don't see him losing by a TKO to Mullarkey. He doesn't have the same power Drew Dober possesses in his hands. Therefore, guys, give me the over 2.5. I think this is gonna be the pick for me here. Next fight, we got Sumugaerji against Team Elliot. This is Elliot is coming in short notice against Mr. Sumo, and I like Elliot here. He looked phenomenal in his fight against Mukayev. He was winning, by the way, on the scorecards until the moment that Mukayev got him into an arm triangle choke. He was winning. He looked great, and I don't think that the Tibetan Eagle has a chance against a guy like Elliot with his slick wrestling, with his slick submissions. This is gonna be also in 135 pounds. And look, all his losses came as a result of a submission. So this is I think having Elliot winning by submission is free money. Elliot is too slick with his wrestling, with his submission game. I see him winning here easy. Give me Elliot to win by submission. That's my pick for this fight. Next fight, we have Yadong Song and Gris. We got Smith and Rountree. Rountree he's a good striker. He's a very good kickboxer. But again, his weakness is him being a terrible grappler compared to Smith, which is a really good grappler. Smith has the wrestling to take it to the ground and just dominate Khalil. So if we get Smith as an underdog, I like him as an underdog here. I think he can take Khalil to the ground and dominate him. Khalil is strong. He got a really good KO win against Chris Dukakis. I just think that against Jacoby as well, split decision. But Smith, man, he's gonna just take it to the ground and dominate Khalil. So my pick is Smith. He had the better competition. This is gonna be a big step up for Khalil, and I think Smith is winning this probably by ground and pound or submission. And now, the main event. We got Yadong Song against Chris Gutierrez. I like Chris Gutierrez. He's a really good striker, especially his kicking game. We saw how he kept Alencar just outside of his reach for 3 rounds. He had nasty leg kicks. Alencar's leg looked destroyed at that 3rd round. But Alencar is not Yadong Song. Yadong Song is more explosive. He has the better grappling, better wrestling. And he fought against the better competition. He's ranked number 7 against number 16, which is Chris Gutierrez. I see Yadong winning here. This is probably going to be... In the late rounds, Yadong can win probably by TKO or something like that. But just because Yadong is such a heavy favorite, I don't want to lay any money here. Because Gutierrez is good, man. I love his kicking game. And that might be a trouble for Yadong if he doesn't get it to the ground. You know, over time, Gutierrez is going to eat Yadong legs. Just like every round going to put more and more damage on those legs. So I got Yadong winning. But Gutierrez is a problem. He's a problem with his kicking game. So I'm not really sold on Yadong, but that's my pick. That's it, guys. If you enjoy this content, please like the video, subscribe, make that algorithm work for us, and consider following me on Twitter at BadgerBatsMMA. That's it for today. Let me know your picks in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.